instead of asking you 10 questions, they want to ask you 20 questions. You still only need to get 60% right, so that would be 12 out of 20 questions need to be correctly answered. But there's also going to be a larger pool of possible questions. I created a video a few months ago indicating at some time in the near future, USCIS is going to make the naturalization process much harder. And it doesn't seem like that's happened yet. Most of my naturalization clients are still getting approved pretty easily, and the interviews aren't that hard, especially if it's like a straightforward case. For those of you who don't know, I focus most of my practice on family-based immigration. So a lot of my clients who are naturalizing are people who I've assisted become permanent residents, and as soon as they're eligible for naturalization, I give them a call and I tell them, like, let's file this ASAP. It's actually the people who've been here for like 30 years who have like iffy naturalization outcomes because sometimes they forget about, different arrests or citations or convictions because they've had just like a long and colorful history in the United States. Sometimes they don't even know how they got their permanent residence. They know like some family member petitioned for them. When I ask them who petitioned for you, they're like, my aunt. I'm like, you can't file a petition for a niece or nephew. So like maybe they petitioned for your parents and you were included on that in a preference category. Anyway, so like we have to figure out how they got their green card sometimes before I can advise them on whether or not applying for naturalization right now is a good idea. One of the things I said in my previous video is the time to apply for naturalization, if you qualify, is right now, or just wait until the Trump administration is gone and hopefully we have a better government and hopefully the Trump administration leaves at some point in the future. I'm not sure that's completely 100% clear right now, but that's a topic for a different video. USCIS has a new district director who has recently indicated that they plan to make the citizenship test harder. The last time Trump was president, they actually introduced a new citizenship test. If you go on the USCIS website, you can actually find it. It's the 2020 version of the citizenship civics test questions. It got reversed, like it wasn't in effect for very long. I forget the exact reason why, but I think they implemented it in violation of the Administrative Procedure Act, and so they just didn't follow a technical rule, so it got reversed by a court, and they just like never fixed it because Trump was almost out of office and they didn't care that much anyway. But they're probably gonna go back to that version of the test, or they're gonna create a revised version that's even harder. In a news article that I recently read in the New York Times, the director indicated that instead of asking you 10 questions, they wanna ask you 20 questions. You still only need to get 60% right, so that would be 12 out of 20 questions need to be correctly answered. But there's also going to be a larger pool of possible questions. So I think there's going to be like 120 possible questions for them to question you from. So you're going to need to study harder for this upcoming test. It hasn't gone into effect yet. I don't know when it's going to happen. If I had to guess, I would say like probably within 6 months, maybe by the middle of 2026. Unclear at this point. In the prior video I made, I indicated that I had spoken directly with a USCIS officer after he made a decision on my client's 5-1 petition to remove conditions. She had basically been waiting for a couple years to remove the conditions because she and her spouse had divorced after she got her conditional green card, but before she removed the conditions. So when you get divorced, the process takes longer. It's still very winnable. I've done a ton of videos on this, but the process takes longer. So we went for the interview and he approved the I-751, so the conditions on her green card were removed. And the officer basically said, are you guys gonna apply for naturalization now? Like hint, hint. And I said, well, yeah, we actually just discussed this before this interview that like, if this gets approved soon, let's immediately apply for naturalization. And the officer said, good. I think that anyone who qualifies for naturalization should do it as soon as possible because we're getting all sorts of emails from up top regarding policy changes that are going to come down the pipeline. So anyone who qualifies for naturalization should probably do it as soon as possible. He said this to me months ago, like 6 months ago. And so far, there haven't been any dramatic changes to the naturalization process. Like, it seems like in some USCIS field offices, they're giving people a harder time. They're asking them every single question for the N400. They're digging a little deeper where they might have not cared that much before. But generally speaking, there have been no official policy changes to make the process harder. I do expect that to change. So if you're a permanent resident and you've been a permanent resident who's been married to a US citizen for more than 2 years and 9 months, or if you didn't get your green card through marriage and you've had your green card for more than 4 years and 9 months, then you might qualify for naturalization. And if you want to see if you have a strong case, I recommend speaking to an immigration attorney. And if you don't know an immigration attorney, you should contact me. You can find my information for consultations directly in the video description below. I focus on family-based green cards, naturalization, and deportation defense. So even if you want to file it yourself, and you want to run it by an immigration attorney before you do, or you just want a lawyer to handle the whole thing from start to finish so you don't have to worry about it, I'm your guy. My name is Puyan Darian. I'm an immigration attorney with an office in New York, but I practice these cases nationwide. And in fact, most of my clients have never been to my New York office. They hire us after consulting with me by video and doing everything through our online portal or by email. So if you're interested in naturalizing or you've been putting it off for way too long, be sure to schedule a consultation. And if you're new to the channel and you want to learn more about policy changes that are happening on the ground and in USCIS field offices officially and unofficially, be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can stay up to date.